The film begins in 2003. Death Row inmate Marcus Wright Sam Worthington signs an agreement with Cyberdyn Systems employee Dura. Serena Kogan Helena Bonham Carter suffering from terminal cancer, to posthumously donate his body to the company for scientific research, followed by lethal chemical injection, is being carried out. In the next scene, credits appear on the screen, repeating and complementing the credits from the first film. In the post-apocalyptic year 2018, John Connor Christian Bale, one of the commanders of the Resistance, confronts the electronic brain of Skynet and an army of Terminators. Among the Resistance soldiers, Connor gradually becomes a leader, although he is only one of the commanders leading the Resistance squad. Connor participates in an attack by a reconnaissance squad on one of Skynet's bases, organized by the main headquarters of the Resistance. In the base computer, John discovers blueprints for a new series of T-800 Terminators. By order of the squad leader, Connor climbs to the surface to find out why there is no connection with the covering unit, and sees the Skynet hunter flying away and the killed squad members. He runs to the helicopter to follow it, but the pilot is also killed. As soon as it takes off, the helicopter is damaged by the shock wave and crashes. Having climbed out of the mangled helicopter, Connor sees the rising mushroom of the explosion that destroyed the base. At this moment, John is grabbed by the shoulder and thrown to the side by the T-600 Terminator, which was left without legs. John shoots the car with an M60 machine gun located on the turret of a fallen helicopter. The next scene shows the same place, only at night. A bloated Marcus Wright emerges from under the rubble of the base. He puts on clothes taken from a killed Resistance soldier. John Connor, without permission from command, arrives at the Resistance headquarters, which is located on a submarine. Chief of Staff General Ashdown tells him that thanks to this attack on the Skynet base, the Resistance forces discovered the Skynet deactivation code, which in theory should work on any machine. Connor offers his help in testing the signal. General Luzenko reports that if successful, a massive attack of Resistance forces will be launched in the near future against Skynet, which has the entire Resistance headquarters on the top priority list for elimination, of which John himself occupies second place. When Connor asks who is first, the Russian general replies some civilian. Kyle Reese. Meanwhile, Marcus reaches the ruins of Los Angeles. From a distance, he mistakes the T-600 for a person and shouts to him. The Terminator opens fire with machine guns on Marcus, who is saved by a young guy in a mask. The young man turns out to be Kyle Reese, and together with a mute girl, whom he calls Tiny, he destroys the Terminator by dumping a load on it. Marcus learns from Kyle what happened in the world while he was away. Connor is at his technical team's headquarters testing the signal on the Hydrobot. The test is successful and he decides to try the signal on a flying hunter-killer. John records a message on the radio in the hope that his future father will hear it. Marcus fixes Kyle's old radio and together they hear Connor's message. After this, they decide to go in search of the Resistance headquarters by car, along the way fighting off a Skynet scout, who identified Kyle Reese. Having repaired the old Jeep, Marcus and two companions hit the road. Stopping at a gas station, they find survivors with whom there was a skirmish over supplies. The quarrel is interrupted by the Reaper, who destroys the gas station and captures people in the transporter. Marcus, having blown up a fuel tank next to the car, tries to leave in a truck, trying to break away from the motor Terminators along the way, but the flying hunter collapses the bridge. Kale and Tiny fall out of the truck, but are caught by a Reaper on a transporter and loaded into the transport compartment. Marcus jumps after him and tries to free them, but he falls into the canyon. Resistance attack aircraft appear in the air, but the hunter manages to lead them away from the transporter. One attack aircraft is damaged and the pilot ejects. Survivor Marcus soon discovers the pilot hanging from slings from power poles. The pilot turns out to be a girl named Blair. She agrees to take Marcus to Connor's Resistance headquarters. John and Barnes test the signal on the hunter. the signal works again, and it easily destroys the machine. Connor informs Ashdown of the results, and he orders preparations for a full-scale attack. When Connor asks about the evacuation of prisoners from the Skynet Cybergization Center, the general refuses. Connor's tech team's base is surrounded by a magnetic minefield. The average person can easily pass through barriers, as Blair demonstrates. Marcus follows her, but halfway through the journey a mine becomes magnetized to his leg and causes an explosion. Marcus is taken to the base. Kate Connor, having torn the clothes on Wright's chest, immediately gives the order to knock him out. Marcus wakes up hanging and chained over a pit. John Connor stands in front of him. Marcus, without realizing it, turned out to be a cyborg created using technology completely unknown to John. What distinguishes Marcus from the Terminator is the presence of a living brain with a digital interface and a powerful human heart. Wright tells Connor that he was human, but he doesn't believe him. Hearing a familiar name from Connor, Marcus says that Kyle Reese is being captured by Skynet. John listens to recordings of his mother Sarah Connor. In none of them does he find any mention of robots made from people. Meanwhile, Blair does not believe that Marcus Wright is a Skynet messenger. She uses deception to distract Barnes from his security post and free Marcus. At this time, an alarm is announced at the base and they begin to pursue them. Thanks to Blair, Marcus manages to escape from view. Connor pursues him in a helicopter, but they are attacked from the water by Hydrobots. Marcus saves Connor from one of the robots, which does not touch Marcus, identifying him as one of their own. Marcus asks you to trust him and allow him to go to the Skynet Cybergization Center in San Francisco to save Kyle Reese and find out what was done to him. Connor gives him a communicator. John asks on the radio not to attack Skynet before his order and not to listen to the main headquarters. John then catches the motorcycle Terminator and, having reprogrammed it to return to base, goes to San Francisco. Marcus Wright, having reached the Skynet security perimeter, calmly enters the territory. Marcus gets to the main computer and syncs his Pew and Skynet system. After disabling John's security systems, he also transmits the coordinates to the cell containing Kyle Reese. At the same time, he learns about the Skynet system as a whole. John sneaks into the Skynet Center and enters a secure area for containing human material. Marcus comes to his senses in the same Skynet Center, but with completely restored Skynet. The face of Serena Kogan appears on the screen, in whose image Skynet communicates with Marcus. The system reveals to Marcus the secret of its creation and its plans. Marcus Wright is a one-of-a-kind hybrid of man and machine and acted as Skynet needed, leading John Connor straight into a trap. The shutdown signal is actually a false signal, and the Resistance Command took it at face value. The transmitters actually transmit their current coordinates to nearby vehicles. Ashdown and Lucenko, in the last minutes of their lives, realize what a mistake they made. The submarine is destroyed by a torpedo hunter. John gets to the security cage with Kyle. However, from there the first prototype of the T-800 Terminator appears. Marcus refuses to admit that he is a machine, breaks the computer screen, and rushes to the aid of John Connor. During the struggle, John only manages to destroy the skin of the Terminator. At this time, Kyle independently gets out of prison. For the first time, father and son meet face to face. Escaping from the T-800, they find themselves in the 800 series assembly workshop. John helps Kyle and Tiny escape and mines the fuel cells for the Terminators. Marcus comes to John's aid. During their struggle, the T-800 manages to stop Marcus's heart with a direct blow to this only vulnerable part. Connor engages the T-800. He manages to pour molten metal onto the Terminator, but the T-800 is still functioning and, as if rising from the ashes, heads towards Connor to finish him off. John manages to shoot into the pipe with the coolant, and the T-800 is doused with an icy pressure from which it begins to be constrained by the quickly solidifying molten metal. The T-800 stops, leaving nasty cuts on John's face. Connor begins to revive Marcus while the T-800 frees itself from the metal that binds it. John manages to start Marcus' heart with 2 high-voltage wires, and at that moment the freed Terminator pierces his chest with steel reinforcement. Marcus immediately gets up, takes the reinforcement out of Connor's chest, and uses it to tear off the T-800's head. Marcus and the seriously wounded Connor are taken away by Blair, who arrives in a helicopter, along with Kate. The Skynet base explodes. However, John is seriously injured and will soon die. Marcus asks Kate to transplant his living heart into John so that he can live. Blair tries to dissuade him, but Wright tells her that everyone has their own chance to improve and kisses her. Keanu Reeves is accepted into the Resistance. The film ends with John's speech in which he says that Skynet has suffered great losses, but the war has not yet been won. The decisive battle is yet to come.